Ever get that feeling like when you're just about to grasp something massive, like your brain's doing gymnastics?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. Talking reality, infinity, the origins of everything. And we're using the Urantia book as our guide.
A book that definitely isn't afraid to ask the big questions.
Not at all. And lucky for us, you've offered to help us navigate some of its more, shall we say, intricate passages.
Yeah.
We're specifically looking at excerpts from Paper 105, Deity and Reality.
Huh?
You ready to stretch those brain muscles?
Always up for a cosmic workout. Let's do it.
Perfect. All right, so right out of the gate, the Urantia book throws this concept at us, and it's a big one, the I am. And I don't mean I am like, hey, I'm here drinking my coffee, but I am like the source of all that is, ever was, and ever will be.
It's really trying to point us to something beyond our everyday understanding of existence, even beyond how we think about personal or impersonal or something being static or dynamic. The I am in just is, encompassing everything, every possibility.
It's kind of like trying to explain awe to someone who's never seen a sunset, We're struggling with putting this into words because it's so far beyond our everyday experience.
Yes, exactly. Analogies are never perfect, but they can be helpful sometimes. Imagine, if you will, walking into a sculptor's studio before they've even started working.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You've got your clay, your marble, all the tools, the potential for endless creations, right? But until that first chip of stone falls away or that clay is molded, the potential is just there, unrealized.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see where you're going with this. So the unformed clay, the untouched marble, that's kind of like the I am before anything exists. And it's not that things don't exist at that point, but more that the idea of existing hasn't even emerged yet.
Right. And here's where it gets really wild. The Urantia book describes this moment, this first volitional expression within the I am.
So hold on a second. You're not saying there was some kind of specific moment when the I am suddenly decided, I think I'll exist now.
Exactly. Remember, we're in the realm of eternity here. Our linear understanding of time doesn't really apply.
Of course. Because how can something eternal have a beginning? It would be like trying to find the edge of a circle.
Exactly. It's more about trying to conceptualize that very first impulse, the initial movement from perfect unity to the possibility of differentiation within the I am.
So even though our brains naturally want to put things in order, first this, then that, when we're talking about the I am, those rules go out the window.
The I am just doesn't operate according to our human understanding of cause and effect or before and after.
This is definitely some seriously abstract stuff, but for our listeners who might be thinking, okay, but why should I care about this I am concept? Why does any of this matter?
Because even if we can't fully grasp it, this idea pushes us to think outside of our own limited experience. It forces us to consider the ultimate source of everything, the wellspring of every single possibility. And that question has some really profound implications, even if the answer ultimately is beyond us.
Okay, my brain is definitely feeling the burn in a good way, but we've only just scratched the surface. So we've got this infinite, this eternal I am, this mind-boggling source of, well, everything.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. But how do we get from that to, well, everything else? Stars, planets, podcasts, the works.
That's where things get even more interesting. The Urantia book introduces us to the 7 absolutes of infinity.
7. Okay, absolutes of infinity. I'm intrigued, but you're going to have to elaborate on that.
Think of them like the fundamental aspects of reality, these eternal principles that the I am uses to express itself.
Okay, so if the I am is like this pure, completely unified potential, what are the absolutes?
Imagine them like lenses, each one a different way that potential can become, well, real. And they're not really separate things as much as they are facets of the I am, eternally connected and always in perfect balance.
Okay, I'm following so far. But who are these absolutes?
Let's start with the big one, the one the Urantia book calls the first source and center. You probably know him better as God, the Universal Father.
Okay, that one I've heard of. But what makes him an absolute?
He's the only absolute that actually is infinite. All the other absolutes come from him. They're expressions of his infinite nature.
So everything else flows from him.
You could say that, yes. He is the source from which all other sources spring.
And I'm guessing these other absolutes are a little less familiar.
The next one is the second source and center, the eternal and original Son. If you think of the first source and center as ultimate creative power, the second is kind of like the blueprint for personality itself.
So like a cosmic father-son kind of dynamic.
Exactly. And what's a family without a home? Right. That's where the third source and center comes in. Paradise.
Paradise. Okay, now you're speaking my language. So we're talking pearly gates, streets of gold, all that jazz.
Think less about the imagery and more about the concept. Paradise is the eternal foundation, the anchor of reality. It's outside of time and space as we understand it. It's the pattern for everything material.
Wow. We're really getting to some heady stuff now.
Yeah.
We're not even at 7 yet, are we?
Not even close. We've still got the conjoint actor, the deity absolute, the unqualified absolute, and the universal absolute.
Okay, well, now you have to tell me more. Who are these other players in the cosmic drama? What do they do?
Well, let's start with the conjoint actor, because that's a fascinating one. Imagine, if you will, a cosmic weaver, bringing spirit and energy together to form the entire cosmos.
He's like tailoring the universe.
Exactly. Taking the raw materials of existence, the spirit that comes from the Father and the energy inherent in the Son, and weaving them into this incredible tapestry we call the cosmos.
Wow, okay. And what about the others? What roles do they play?
Well, those other absolutes are pretty mind-blowing too. But before we get totally lost in the vastness of the cosmos, I have to ask, where do we fit into all of this? I mean, humanity seems kind of, well, insignificant next to infinite beings and cosmic weavers.
That's a big question. And one the Urantia book actually spends quite a bit of time on. Because it turns out we're not just here by accident. Our existence, this whole experience of being finite in a universe that seems to go on forever, it was intentional.
A deliberate expression of the infinite's potential.
So you're saying we're not just along for the ride, we have an actual purpose.
According to the book, yeah, we do. And it gets even more interesting. We were talking earlier about how the first source and center is the only truly infinite absolute, right?
Right.
Well, the Urantia book describes two different kinds of finite reality that come from the I Am.
2 flavors of finite. Okay, I'm listening.
So the first type, those are called primary maximums. They are inherently perfect, like the central universe of Havona, for example. It exists along with all its inhabitants in this state of total perfection, perfectly in sync with the I Am.
Pure, unadulterated perfection right from the get-go. Or whatever counts as a beginning in eternity. What about type 2? Are we in that category?
That's where we come in. We're what the book calls secondary maximums. And unlike those perfect Havona folks, we aren't born into that state of perfection. We're more like works in progress, capable of reaching that perfection through growth and evolution.
So we're on a journey. A cosmic quest for perfection. I like it. But it kind of makes you wonder, if everything comes from the I Am, and the I Am is all about perfection, then how did imperfection even become a thing? Why aren't we all hanging out in Havona?
That's where the concept of time and our existence within it becomes really key. The Urantia book suggests that imperfection comes from this kind of built-in delay in the evolutionary process.
Built-in delay, like a cosmic lag time.
Yeah. Think of it like baking a cake, right? You can't just throw a bunch of ingredients in a bowl and expect a perfectly decorated cake to just appear instantly.
Takes time.
Exactly. There's a natural progression. It takes time for those ingredients to combine, for the cake to rise, for the flavors to develop.
So that time between the potential for the cake and actually having a delicious cake, that's where things can go wrong. Like maybe you accidentally put in salt instead of sugar, or forget to set the timer.
Precisely. It's not that the potential for the perfect cake isn't there. It's that existing in time means there's going to be this gap between where we start and that ultimate potential. And that gap, it creates the possibility for mistakes, for choices that take us further away from that ultimate harmony.
So even our imperfections, our mistakes and wrong turns, they all have a part to play in this whole cosmic evolution thing.
Absolutely. And this actually is where those 4 other absolutes we didn't have time to talk about come into play.
Man, always next time. I guess we're going to have to dive back in another day and really get into the weeds with those.
Sounds like a plan. But for today, I think the main takeaway is this. If the Urantia book is right, then we're not just little specks in some meaningless universe, right? We're all vital parts of this unfolding story, a story that started with the I Am and that continues with every single choice we make, every single step we take on this journey toward perfection.
Wow, I'm going to need a minute to process all of that. It's a lot, but it's also strangely hopeful. Like, I might not have all the answers, but at least I know I'm a part of something much, much bigger than myself.
And that's the beauty of grappling with these big questions, isn't it? We may never fully grasp infinity, but just trying to understand it can change how we see everything.
Absolutely. And on that note, a huge thank you to everyone listening for joining us on this deep dive into the Urantia book. If you found this even a little bit interesting, I highly recommend checking out the book for yourselves. And as always, keep asking those big questions, keep searching for those aha moments, and keep exploring. Until next time.